Welcome back. Just a few moments ago, we spoke about a number of companies hiring right now, but that barely makes a dent in the number of people still out of work. People who have been out of work for a year or longer, who knows how long. Listen, people have been out of work for 18 months, even 2 years in some cases. Let's face it, New Jersey's unemployment rate is still at 10.1% right now, higher than the national rate, which is 9.7%. But again, true unemployment, that's what we're talking about, is believed to be much higher than that. Here today to help give you the tools you need to get back on your feet is our good friend Mitch Slater from the Slater Trainer Group, Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, and Al Torres, career coach from Project NextGen. Thank you for being with us, guys.
Our pleasure.
All right, so we are talking about an opportunity now for people who are out of work to acquire some of the tools, maybe hone some of the skills that they haven't used in a while. You guys had held Laid Off Camp, that was back in September, and now it's a career boot camp or career training and boot camp?
Career and Transition Boot Camp. The reason we kind of changed the name was that we got a lot of feedback that some people who were interested in coming thought it was only about those who were already laid off.
Okay.
But many people were very worried about their jobs, thought that maybe in a few months they were going to be laid off. And so we wanted to give the opportunity to really kind of stretch this out and give that opportunity to others that weren't just already unemployed.
Last time around it was at William Patterson.
Right, last time we had William Patterson up in Wayne. We've moved it down a little bit into Morris County to Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Okay, and you had a great turnout the last time.
We did, and it was really a sign of the times. The folks that actually took the time to be there were really struggling. These were people that weren't just out of work a week or 2 weeks. These were people that were out of work 6 months, 9 months, and they really needed some sort of training on what they, the tools to get back into the workplace. And I've kept in touch, and I know Al has too, with many of these folks. And I'd like to say, well, 100% of them are back to work, but I think it's really more like 20-25% at this point in the last 6 months have found work. So there really still is a lot of problems in our state.
Aside from the name change, aside from the fact that we're not calling it Laid Off Camp anymore, what are you going to be offering? What types of workshops will people be able to experience here that they might not have had the chance to experience in the last event?
Right. We have 2 new workshops. One is interviewing skills. That was one of the ones on the survey that we did after the feedback we got was that people felt they were able to go out and get resume building service. We offered that in the training last time, but the interview side of it was something that they felt was lacking in regards to many of them hadn't interviewed in 5, 10, 15 years. So that was something they really were looking for. The other aspect was really networking. Networking is something that most people don't necessarily know how to do in the first place, but networking for a job is a completely different aspect. People, even just the example of the elevator pitch. Well, you can use that when you're looking to network for a job. And so how do you do that? How do you actually put it together so that in those 20 seconds you can be the most effective that you can be?
Right. Yeah, and I think, and also train people on social networking. Networking today in 2010 is very different than it was 10, 15 years ago, and there's so many aspects to social networking using things like LinkedIn and Facebook, obviously, and Twitter, and we're going to try to give some information on how to learn more about that.
People are resistant. I know there are a lot of people out there who while there are many people who are on Facebook and LinkedIn and the various social networking sites, there are still people who are fairly resistant to get into it.
They are, but I think people that are looking for work are a little less resistant because they realize that they need to reach out to their community, and their community today, it happens to be on Facebook or happens to be using LinkedIn, and they can reach hundreds to thousands of people instantly, and it's very, very powerful.
One of the things that people have working against them right now, particularly people obviously who are out of work looking for new jobs, and by the way, just this week we found out that initial jobless claims rose unexpectedly. They were up by about 31,000 the prior week, and they expected actually a small decline in first-time jobless claims. And again, we got an increase of 31,000. So there's still a lot of mixed signals going on right now in the job market. People hear one day that things may be improving. People hear the next day that, more people lost their jobs last week or filed for benefits.
And that's partially the point that we're doing more of this career transition, because there are a lot of folks that just don't really know how things are going to go at their current employer, and maybe they're hearing some rumors about some layoffs, and they want to at least start taking the steps necessary, learn about the networking, learn about the interviewing skills, and prepare themselves just in case. And it's worthwhile to take a morning off and learn this information because it's out there.
You were talking about people who haven't interviewed in 5, 10, or who knows, 20 years. And these days, because you have so many people who are looking for work, the competition's fierce. You have less time to get your point across. So I'm guessing that's one of the things you want to focus on. You were talking about the elevator pitch, but you want to know what you're going to say. You want to have exactly what you want out of that job on your mind, and you have to be ready to say it.
Absolutely, and for everybody it's different, but one of the things is people just need to know what they're looking for. I mean, a lot of people say, well, my job has been kind of gone overseas. Okay, well, what do you want to do next? I really don't know. Right, so you can interview the best you can, but it really doesn't matter if you're not really sure what you're going for. So a lot of it, what we also offer is a little bit of direction. How do you figure out what your next steps are? How do you put that in place? Giving people a little bit more of seeing those obstacles more as opportunities, not just that, man, I'm stuck and I'm not going to be able to find anything.
And be able to talk to other people that are in that same situation. They're not, a lot of these folks that we met with were very, very concerned because they weren't alone.
And in fact, here's some video from the laid-off camp back in September.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of folks that we talked to there. They all had lots and lots of specific concerns. They were able to sit with their neighbor and sit with somebody in this hall here and find out, how long have you been out of work? How long, where are you looking at? And they really learned from each other. And they developed their own network. And Al and I have continued to network with these folks via email and other social networking, and hopefully tell these people about different job opportunities that we've heard about.
One of the interesting things, because I was there as well for the laid-off camp for part of the day, and one of the things that I thought was interesting was hearing the people who had been out of work for such a long period of time, and they found that they were forced into thinking in a totally different direction, and thought more as an entrepreneur, as somebody who was just trying to get back into the field that they were in, tried to branch out.
That's one of the big things, is when people get laid off, that all of a sudden it's like, well, what else can I do? I've always had a hobby, I've always had an interest, let me try and start my own business. Well, as we know, 1 in 5 businesses fail normally. That's a normal statistic. So we want to make sure that those people that really try and go in that particular path, they can be as successful as they really can be. So actually, FDU, the Rothman Institute of Entrepreneurship, they're going to be running actually a program as well to kind of give them the basics for starting a business.
And very quickly, I just want to let everybody know that this is coming up this coming Friday, and once again, it's at FDU, and there's the information right on your screen. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Our
Mitch
pleasure.
Slater,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if you have any questions or comments about anything in today's interview, send them to me at itsyourmoney@news12.com. We'll be right back right after this.